Alright, welcome to Padmé Amidala, your influence on the galaxy and on Prequel Kids, and we are the Prequel Kids. I'm Candace Hall, I'm from the Geeky Waffle and Space Waffles, and I'll be moderating this discussion. And to my right is...
Hi, I'm Alice White. I host the podcast Rogue Fun, a podcast story. And I very frequently am on Twitter, so I'm finding there.
I'm Lacey Giller, and I'm in the Resistance broadcast, where the podcast about Star Wars. Surprise! And yeah, I just really love Star Wars.
I'm Arzu Amin. I'm also from the Geeky Waffle and Space Waffles, and I'm also with Collider.
Yeah, so we are very passionate, and first, I want to ask you guys, what were your first reactions to Padme and seeing Phantom Menace?
So Phantom Menace comes out in '99. I'm 9 years old. And my world was completely rocked, completely changed. She's young, she's beautiful, she's dressed to the nines, and she's got a blaster in her hand. I'm sold forever. My first reaction was, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my entire life, and where can I see more Natalie Portman?
And you really shouldn't, because at that time,
No,
it was
I
like
think
a professional,
and very, very little else.
yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
nothing appropriate for
No,
a 9-year-old Alice.
we were gifted later with more appropriate, age-appropriate films.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw Phantom Menace in the movie theater. My dad took me, and I had grown up on the original trilogy, so that's what my canon was at the time. So when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, this is kind of like a Princess Leia character, tough. She dresses awesome. She doesn't take crap from anybody. She's telling people like, I don't agree with this, and they're like, all right, whoa. And I just love that from characters. Although I did leave the movie asking my dad where Luke Skywalker was, but regardless, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So I was also 9 years old, and very much like I had seen Star Wars. I liked Star Wars, but I was very much in my Disney princess phase. So watching a Star Wars movie with this young woman wearing these absolutely gorgeous outfits, I was like, okay, a Star Wars for me, something I can get on board with. And then, like, my mom got me the paper doll, so I was like, this is her movie. This is entirely her story. So I was hooked after that, because I'm like, yeah.
Did anyone here dress as Padme as a kid for Halloween? No. Yeah. Yeah.
Just a few.
Just a few. The plastic hair and the polyester red dress.
Oh, yeah.
How many among you still to this day will do your full upper lip and then split your bottom lip down the middle, putting lipstick on? Like I did this morning.
Almost every time I put my lipstick on.
Oh, were any of you surprised by the twist that Padme was Amidala in Phantom Menace?
Yes, I was completely shocked.
That blew my tiny mind.
I was completely shocked, even shocked later when I realized that the decoy was Keira Knightley. And the twist totally got me when she was like, I'm the queen, actually. I was like, what?
I was like, cinema.
This is cinema. This is what real writing is. Absolutely.
It wouldn't happen today because with the internet and everything, we would all like memorize her face by now.
Yeah,
Not only that, 2 years earlier, you hear that she is, in fact, also Padme Amidala in a leak somewhere.
Oh yeah, I would have leaked ahead of time, 100%. We would have seen one trailer and thought, okay, she's the queen and she's also we would have overanalyzed it to death.
My carpool buddy ruined it for me. He saw it like a week before I did and was going on about how the handmaiden was actually the queen and that they were the same person. And I'm like, first of all, I don't know what you're talking about. But then as soon as I went into the movie theater, I was like, oh no. And then so I just went through the whole movie with that knowledge. So
I was just really confused. I'm like, I thought I was here to see Queen Amidala. Where is she?
Why are we spending all this time with this random?
Yeah,
Random handmaiden.
Yeah. So my next question is, what do you all think of the romance with Anakin and Attack of the Clones? You guys knew these questions.
No,
yes.
I'm laughing because I'm going to be on the side of like, look, I get the romance of it, and like fan fiction and fan art, it's like so beautiful. I'm sorry, I don't dig the chemistry between them, and at least Attack of the Clones. The pair scene just makes me cringe. I'm so sorry.
I think that's the point.
But I understand. teenage love, and it is awkward, and it is trying to figure yourself out, and like trying to see like how you navigate feelings of caring about someone so much so early in life. I mean, we've all probably been there with the first love where you're like so infatuated with that person that nothing else matters, and that's clearly what was going on. But when I watch it now in my 30s, I'm like, please don't do this. But yeah, I think it's nice.
I'm gonna come down on the other side of that and say, when I was younger, I was like, oh, what is this? And then now on the other side of my youth, I'm like, right, okay, so when we're all 19, none of us know how to talk to the person we're into. Fine, none of us know how to react to that. Plus, neither of them had, in my view, good role models on what flirting is like, what romance is like. Like, Padme has been...
Wait.
Well,
Anakin Skywalker's master is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, no, I know, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, no, let me explain this, because Obi-Wan Kenobi can't turn off the flirt, but at the same time, he's like not doing that in front of his Padawan, because he needs to set a really good example. So in front of Anakin, he's like, no, we have to, the Jedi, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, when he's on his own, then it's Mr. Suave. Can you tell he's my favorite character? So, so, like, Anakin's got this idea of, like, this is wrong, don't flirt with anybody. So, meeting Padme is like an overreaction, whereas Padme has been working in a professional child prodigy sphere since she was, like, 12. So, interacting with other youth the way youth do and not the way, like, a working professional politician would is completely foreign territory to her. And I know we all talk about how awkward Anakin is, but Padme's pretty awkward, too, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because, again, I think we've all been there. But, yeah, I think that's what works about it now that I'm older and kind of have a 30-something's perspective on it. I'm like, right, this is the most awkward thing in the world, and yeah, like you were saying,
You have someone that's constantly in sender mode, like you don't know how to turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I come down on the. I do like the romance. I think the romance is sweet. I like at the beginning of Attack of the Clones when he's like real nervous to see her again. And it's like, oh my god, this beautiful girl that I haven't seen since I was literally 9 years old is about to walk in the room, and I don't know what am I supposed to do with my hands, Anakin Skywalker. And I think it's really sweet. When I was younger, when the film came out, I thought the age gap was weird. And then I'm like, oh, they're like less than 5 years apart actually. At the time, 9 and 14, when they meet, felt so insurmountable. I'm like, oh, okay, wait, they're like 19 and 24 now? Like it's not that bad. He is very clearly 19 though, as soon as they walk in that room. And he's like, he puts this smile on his face that he can't quite not control. And I think that's so sweet and so awkward and awful, but it is, and that's why I like it. Yeah, to look back on being a teenager and to look back on being 19 when being in love with somebody felt like the most important thing in the whole world. And
even just being in that moment where you're like, I'm cool, I'm totally cool.
Yeah, I'm so cool.
You're not like sand.
She didn't even know. She didn't even know it was him. She's like, oh, ObiWan. I was like, yeah, same. Like, it's ObiWan. Of course, that's where I'm focused.
He is right there.
He is right there the whole time.
Okay. I'll stop.
No, let her speak.
Oh.
Okay, so next we're going to go into a topic that I'm very passionate about. If you listen to Space Waffles or just hear me speak ever, you will know I'm very obsessed with Padme and Revenge of the Sith, especially the deleted scenes. And I wanted to know, do you all think those scenes should have been included, or do you think it would have like messed up with the timing?
100%. Those 100% belong.
Okay, sorry. Yes, 100%. She's done real dirty in that film by not including some of those deleted scenes, and where she gets to talk about seeds of rebellion, where she gets to talk about politics, which is really where her character shines. And I think we'll get to Clone Wars later.
Yeah.
But the fact that she is political, she's a senator, and she's been political since she was like 14 years old, 13 years old.
It was 2, probably.
Probably, yeah, honestly. And, you know, she's wonderful. And the fact that they did her dirty by cutting those scenes. I mean, the movie could have been a full half hour longer, and we still would have watched it, right? Like,
I mean, movies are longer these days, and yet
I
that
know.
long, so yeah.
and we could have had more political Padme.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think some of the things that are missing from Revenge of the Sith for me are those stronger moments from Padme where she really establishes herself even further in the saga of what she's doing later for the characters that we know and love, and how related Princess Leia is to her mother. Like, I think those scenes even show you that, where you're like, this is clearly where this character gets this from. And now with Obi-Wan, we know even more when he has that moment with little Leia and he's like, you're so much like your mother. These are the types of scenes that kind of build on that legacy of that original character that we know, and then into her being Princess Leia's mother. So I also, as someone that had a baby within the last year or two, she's 16 months, so yeah, a year and a half ago, I think Revenge of the Sith, especially showing her progression as a mother as well, as putting other people constantly before herself, those scenes help do that as well.
I think it's just a shame that we lose like the third act of her arc essentially, because the first movie really is, I know I joked about it earlier, but it really is her movie. Like, she is the catalyst for the plot, she's the reason they're out there at all, the whole thing is centered around Naboo, so it's her story. And the second movie, the only thing that brings her to Coruscant is to sign an agreement. It's politics, so she's once again the catalyst for the investigation, for everything going on, because they wouldn't have found Camino if somebody hadn't tried to kill Padme in the first place. So with those two movies being so heavily centered on her political career and her political legacy, for the third movie to then solely be about her relationship and sort of how she's in the dark about most of it until like right at the end, it's just a shame to lose the political connection we know was intended for that third movie and to not see it at all. And then, like Lacey said, the connection with her daughter down the line, who's going to go on to lead this rebellion and who ObiWan says has so much of her mom. We know that now because, like, we've seen the Clone Wars, some of us maybe read the novel, so we have all that information, but it's never visually presented, and that's the loss I mourn in all this.
Yeah, it shows she's not just the mother of Luke and Leia, she's the mother of rebellion too.
Yeah.
So, okay, the other thing I'm obsessed with. Do you have any cause of death theories?
Oh God.
Padme
know
was
you do.
murdered. Padme was murdered. That's all I'm saying. I have a lot of issues. I think it was me, like my young mind being like, she didn't just let go. Because I was obsessed with her as a child.
You know, this is a topic that comes up a lot in the Star Wars circle. I'm sure everybody here
I
has.
thought you were just going to say a lot with me.
Oh, with you, yes.
Also, yes.
Every conversation.
Yes.
And I'm sure everybody in the room is, I don't even want to think about how many of you are in here, everybody has a different version of similar theories. A very popular one being that that Palpatine and Anakin are sucking her life force out to sustain Vader as he's being healed and rebuilt, which was a very compelling, very, very interesting.
It goes with the editing too.
Right, because it cuts between the birth of the twins and Padme dying and Anakin being completely rebuilt and coming back. Those things happening simultaneously in the film definitely lends credibility to that theory. I actually don't like that theory personally. I know, I'm sorry, Candace. I don't like that theory personally because to me, Star Wars, they have so much advanced medical technology in Star Wars, and there's so many things they could have like forced to keep her alive, even if her life force is being sucked out, like forcibly.
Put her in states or something,
Right.
status.
Yeah, even if they are forcibly, yes, pun intended, pulling her life force away from her to support Anakin, there's something they could have done. They could have saved her life. I don't think she's lost the will to live is the phrasing I would have chosen for that personally. But I didn't write it. I was very young. And I'm not George.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's my heart. But that she could have been kept alive medically and instead is making the conscious choice to not live anymore, I think that's like her agency and her like arc that she's completing herself. I don't have to love that for her, but I do have to respect that if she just is losing the will to live and doesn't want to be around anymore, and that's what she chooses. That medically or they couldn't keep her alive. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me that other people are choosing to kill her, and that they couldn't figure that out or like sense that medically. It just doesn't make sense in the movie to me.
I heard recently another theory is that she chose to die, but she chose so that the secret of her children died with her, because she realized like, oh, all the Jedi are gone. My kids might be forced through the day. So that was the choice.
I think for me, it's one of those choices that feels much along the lines of the choice to cut her political arc, was that we kind of hit this grand finale and we need all the Jedi gone, we need Anakin to become Darth Vader, we need to shift into that Imperial mindset, and she got forgotten. We're like, we don't need her later because, Leia's gonna go off to Alderaan and Luke's gonna go off to Tatooine, so we can't have her around. Oops. Like, it just kind of feels like they forgot a reason, so it became she's lost the will to live, which, here we are, 15 years later? It's longer than that. 18 years later going, well, I wonder why, because, we think about these things, but I think it's like one of those things that just sort of speaks to everything that went wrong with her arc in the third movie. As much as I do love the third movie, I think that's the one that did her the most dirty, because so little thought was put into how her story ended, like politically, personally, all of that.
Yeah, I think one of the things I always have trouble with Star Wars in general is that they always tend to kill characters we all love. I don't know why they do that. They're like, oh, you like this guy? Gone. Woman? Gone.
Let's not talk about that.
Sorry. But yeah, her death is definitely something, especially when I was younger, it really bothered me because I loved her character. I thought she was strong. She was someone that I looked up to. That she was someone I still look up to her, but I looked up to her. I loved what she brought to the dynamic, and I know that her story needed to end to then progress to the next movies and where we see everybody go. But it just didn't sit well with me, and I think it's because I can't see the person that we met in the first two movies just be like, I'm good, and just like peace out. Like I just can't see that from her character, and I respect the choice that was made by George Lucas. It's his story, his character. It's what he wanted to tell. But it just didn't sit well with me as a fan of hers and as a fan of a strong woman that's about to bring children into the world that wants to see the best for them, that she would then leave them on their own. But I do like the idea that she left them with the idea of protecting them.
Yeah.
I can get behind that idea, but I just love hearing fan speculation and like fan theories. It's one of my favorite things to do is like read other people's theories, even if I don't agree with them, just to see what people come up with.
Yeah, because I think it's in the Darth Vader comics, it says that like in the autopsy, like the child died with her.
Right, that's why they left her looking
Padmé,
in the funeral. Yeah.
So to trick Vader. Well, they didn't know about Vader, but the Emperor at least.
Everyone else, yeah.
Yeah. So it's an interesting theory, and I was like, I can accept maybe that one.
How many people are actually okay with the way she died? They're just like, yeah, I'm good.
We won't judge, it's fine.
No judge. Okay. Couple
Okay.
people.
Everyone look at them. Okay. Also, do you think Leia remembering her, saying she remembers her in Return of the Jedi, is more just like one of those things that a child just like, yeah, I can imagine my real mother.
Could be a force thing. Could be.
Force.
That's what I was saying. I was saying in my head at least that it was like a force, like a feeling, imagery. As we learned from ObiWan, she has these moments where she can feel what the other person's feeling, and she kind of reads vibes very well. I also think that there is a piece of this that George Lucas wasn't thinking, like, oh, I'm going to write these prequels later on, so I'm going to say, like, oh, my mom was a sad person. She's like, oh, I don't know why I did that. But I do think that, it needs force sensitivity.
Yeah.
I think it's some force sensitivity, and I think it's also that thing with kids where when you tell them something when they're young, that they'll internalize that as a memory, even though it's just information. So like,
picture something.
Yeah, like Bale and Bram make no secret of the fact that Leia is adopted, but that she's their daughter. Like, but they do tell her sort of that she has another mother, I guess. So I think if they told her this young enough, that she kind of internalized that with the Force sensitive feeling, and by the time she's in her 20s, it feels more like the memory, even though she has an active memory of her.
My next question is, with Clone Wars expanding her character and backstory, did it change the view of her for you all?
Well, I don't know about change the view of her, because I always loved her. She is great. I don't know if it was changed, but like reinforced why I love her so much, and like why she's such an interesting character. So many different sides to her. Some of my favorite episodes of Clone Wars are when Padme's doing diplomacy, or aggressive negotiations, and she's. I think they did a really good job giving us more of what we lost from Revenge of the Sith by giving us a perspective of some of the like daily work that she does, but also clearly like how that daily work she's done is now extremely dangerous because we're at war, and how competent she is, and how honest and earnest that she is when she's trying to help people, and how much of a female role model she can be for Ahsoka, and her presence throughout that show is really beneficial to the show. If they were just focusing on Jedi stuff and War stuff, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much. I still would have enjoyed it. Star Wars, for goodness sake. But getting the Coruscanti, like what's going on back at home while everybody's at war? What decisions are they making? Where, what does a galactic senate do? How do they manage literally thousands upon thousands of planets all at the same time? And how do they not do that?
I don't know to tell you, but they didn't.
They know they did a very poor job. But we get to see it, and we get to experience it with her, with this character that we love. And we also get to see her like rad Senate looks and cool headdresses and stuff.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I know I've been coming down like really harsh on Revenge of the Sith, and really is actually like my second favorite Star Wars movie. But what I like about her in the Clone Wars, like Al said, it didn't change how I felt about her, but it kind of felt like, because I didn't see the Clone Wars till I was an adult, and it kind of felt like it was giving me the Revenge of the Sith political arc that I didn't get there. So I'm not a big fan of the assessment that like the Clone Wars saved the prequels, because I've never not liked prequels. But I do think in that one respect, because that's something that they decided we didn't have time to address there, they did decide to address it eventually, which is another reason I like Star Wars books so much, is because they'll take the things that went unaddressed and focus on that, and that's what I like about the Clone Wars are.
Yeah, I think oftentimes in Star Wars we focus understandably on the Jedi and what they're doing and what our heroes are doing, and not really more of the kind of Senate leaders and stuff like that. So I think the Clone Wars really helped flesh out what Padme was doing, and how every little choice that was being made is just as important as Jedi storming something, you know what I mean? Or Jedi taking over a certain location. But yeah, with the Clone Wars, she just showing how righteous she was, and how she was constantly fighting for the people that weren't being heard. And I think that's why I respect her, and us as fans respect her as a character, because she was always going to stand by what she believed in. And I think that's what's one of the things that's always stuck with me as a Star Wars fan. Is like, these characters mean so much because they have such great values of like what's important and what matters. And it's like doing what's right, standing up for those that need our help. And she was definitely like the epitome of that, of hey, we need to do the right thing here.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it also helped that Anakin and Padme, like, understanding their relationship. Like,
Yes, the romance was better. Yep.
Oh, some of my favorite Clone Wars moments are them trying to sneak moments with each other, and trying to, sneak around and cover up the fact that they're trying to hang out. I really like the Clone Wars episode, and one of my favorites I go back to a lot, where they're hanging out in her office and Anakin has to leave his lightsaber there, and Padme gets the lightsaber and gets to use it at some point.
And Dale's like, why do you have that?
And she's like, oh, no reason. There's no reason.
Dale definitely knows who
I just
the
found
father
it.
of Leia is. Oh, like 100%.
100% in those. a new way long time ago. Oh yeah, that was. I wanted to ask you guys and you guys what you all thought. Did Obi-Wan and probably Bail Organa, but definitely Obi-Wan, you knew the whole time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. Obi-Wan for sure. Well, he knows about Anakin's little crush, but I bet he knew the second that he got married.
I think it's legends now, but did like Yoda and like Obi-Wan have a talk with Anakin? Or is that canon? No? Okay. That might be legends.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
I was like, I know that somewhere. But yeah. I mean, even Ahsoka knows.
Oh, Ahsoka for sure knows.
Oh yeah, she's like, I get it. I get why you want to leave.
Anakin Skywalker is not nearly as subtle as he
Of
thinks he is.
course not. He's the most.
Does he think he's subtle? I think he does think he's subtle. Like, he's got, especially in Clone Wars, he's got the whole, like, slaw of, like, yeah, like, I'm just around the office for absolutely no reason. And everybody's like, we know why you're here.
So obvious, but he's so dramatic all the time. And it's like, he couldn't hide any emotion on his face even if he tried. Like, there's no way that people aren't like, are those two hooking up? Or?
I just like Obi-Wan's last-ditch attempt. I think it's in season 6, but I could be wrong. His last-ditch attempt, he's like, Anakin, maybe we should talk about catching someone, buddy. Now, we're having this conversation now, like, which I thought is, like, he definitely knows, and Anakin's, like, brushing it off, but that is, like, one of my favorite bits of their relationship when really late in the game, he's like, we should talk about your crush.
All
not a
thinking about
crush.
Jojo.
It's not a late.
Honestly.
It's not a crush. I think she's actively pregnant.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he knows because in season 6, like, Rex has to, like, cover for him, and Obi-Wan's like, no.
No, Rex knows. Even if
Rex
no
knows.
one else knows, Rex definitely
I mean,
knows.
Anakin did know.
You guys are just naming every character at this point.
I know.
So the whole galaxy knew.
Everyone knows.
The whole galaxy knew.
Except Anakin. Somehow he doesn't know.
Right. Speaking of a bunch of different characters, how do you think she influenced characters like Bail, Mon Mothma, and Ahsoka, all who we're seeing more of lately?
Okay. This actually, I care about this bit a lot. So
None of the other bits, right?
no, I don't care about this at all.
Okay.
She's like, hence I think only read the question. Just add this.
So I was thinking about Padme's influence on Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, not just in her role as like one of the founders of the rebellion, but additionally, like, I think that her like memory is something that is kept as a through line throughout the rest of the series. Specifically, I'm thinking about in Rogue One, and if anybody knows me, Rogue One is literally all I care about in the whole world. My podcast is called Rogue Fun for a reason.
She watches it once a month and talks about it.
Once a month.
Yeah.
Why'd you come here?
Yeah.
Have you seen the other Star Wars? No, I've never seen another Star Wars. It's just Rogue One. But I was thinking about on my most recent rewatch of Rogue One. I was thinking about how in the scene where Jyn is pitching her idea to go to Scarif to the council, and there's little tiny Jyn herself, dark-haired, amazing, powerful, very the perfect character, Jyn herself. She's pitching this, like, if we're not gonna fight, if we're not gonna do anything, if we're just gonna stand around here and look awesome as a council, like, what is the point of all of this? If we don't try, if we don't go for it, literally, why are we even here? And Mon Mothma and Bail Organa in that moment share, like, a cute little smile. They, like, look at each other like, ooh. And in my mind, they're like, you know who she reminds me of? She reminds me of Padme. I mean, look at her. She's, this tiny little thing, this tiny little woman up against people that are so much more powerful and with so much more influence and with bigger, louder voices and bigger, louder presences. But she's making herself known and she's making her opinions known. That's Padme, that's Jin, that's Rey, that's Leia, that's all of them. And it echoes through the whole saga, through all of these movies, that the power of these women to make their voices heard, to make themselves known in this world and amongst those who wouldn't normally listen to them. And chronologically, at least, this starts from Padme. And I think that echo of passion and that echo, and then in our timeline starts with Leia, and then George Lucas writes Padme as clearly Leia was influenced by her mother, and Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, they know, they get it, and they miss their friend, and they miss their fiery, inspiration. Padme was always the first one to speak out when things needed to get done. And I think about that a lot, and that little smile that they share, because they don't say it, but to me, that's them wishing Padme was there to keep the fight going. Because the fight at that point in Rogue One seems to be diminishing, and they're like, maybe this council's finished, maybe we should just give up, we can't fight a Death Star. And they're like, no, we have to keep fighting. And Jin says, we have to keep going. And that is Padme to me. That is Padme's influence on that.
I think the tragedy, I guess, of Padmé Amidala is how much the entire galaxy and the entire rebellion owes to her. Like, not just, the people up at the top, but everybody, because we see early on, and I'm not saying she's the only one to do this, but she's like the one that we see doing this the most. She's the one who, from the beginning, is speaking up for the little guy. She's speaking up for her people in the face of the Trade Federation, who weren't much of weren't as big a threat as the Empire was, but they were very specifically a threat to her. And nobody else seemed to care. They're like, well, let's have a meeting to talk about maybe, possibly, petitioning to talk about this later. And she's like, absolutely not. And then that's the rebellion's approach to things, is we're not going to do things through proper channels, because proper channels are getting people killed. So anybody who ever took that kind of stance, like I'm thinking about, in Andor, Nemec's whole manifesto about the tiny rebellions everywhere, whether they realize it or not, every single person who stood up to the Empire owes that fiery spirit, I guess, to the memory of Padme, whether they know it or not, whether Padme knows it or not, because she's the most central figure we see embodying that really early in the fight, before the Empire was really much of an empire.
Yeah, I think Padme has definitely had influence on Bail and Mon Mothma, specifically about playing the game really well. She's able to walk into a room with other senators and people she doesn't like and carry a conversation and be polite and be cordial and not cause an issue, but then behind the scenes pull strings and try to get things going for the people that she cares about, her rebellion and stuff like that. And I mean, I keep going back to it, but with Obi-Wan, we see so many moments with Bail where he's looking at Leia and he's just like, this is a little Padme standing right in front of me. The way she's acting, the way she has so many stances on things, and she's sticking up for herself and sticking up for droids and all this other stuff. Bail can't look at that little child and not be like, this is Padme, to the T. And then Mon Mothma goes back to the idea of playing the game. We see that in Andor, where she's just having to go into these rooms with these people she absolutely hates. She does not want to be there, and put on the outfits and all this other stuff, and then still get the job done and take those risks. Padme would take risks, even not knowing what the outcome might be. I feel like we see that a lot with Mon Mothma and with Bail Organa, including in Rogue One, where they do things that might not be the easiest choice for them to make. Mon Mothma kind of giving up her daughter, but she knew that the outcome and the pay for that, the payback, would be worth it, because she's going to save that many more people and keep freedom for the galaxy.
I think even recently in Bad Batch, we see Rio Chuchi really reminded me of Padme a lot. I mean, she's wearing red and gold and talking out, and it feels like she's stepping up.
I'm so glad you said that.
Oh.
As soon as she made that appearance, I was thinking about the episode. There's several episodes with the Pantorans in Clone Wars, and how we've watched Senator Chuchi go from
Like a meat,
new
senator.
being totally stepped on by that military guy, the chairman guy, and to now actively going and speaking in front of the Senate and working with other senators, trying to keep some semblance of not imperial awfulness in the galaxy, and she's trying so hard, and that's Padme. That's all Padme. She left that for them to try and fight as hard as you can, even in the face of tyranny. That it doesn't matter how overwhelming the odds are. If you don't say something, if you don't speak up, literally, what's the point?
What about Ahsoka? Do you feel like you see her influence?
I think so. I think that Ahsoka really needs Padme in her
She
life.
has Anakin as a master.
No. Because otherwise it's just Anakin.
We all know how that's going.
The disaster. The impending disaster of the two of them just left to their own devices. Thank God they have ObiWan and Padme to keep them almost level-headed, almost.
I think in a general sense I see it, but not in the same sort of way we see it with like Rio or with Bail or with Mon Mothma, like just in the terms of doing the right thing, which is extremely big. But I think in that sense, Ahsoka draws influence from her, but I think she draws it from like a lot of the non-chaotic people around her, meaning everybody but Anakin. I do love Anakin, but you know, this is the aggressive negotiations guy after all. So yes, I think in a general sense, she does draw that from Padme.
Alright, so do you have a favorite Padme moment from TV, movies, books?
Favorite? How do you choose? How do you choose a favorite Padme moment? She's so wonderful all the time.
I really like her, like when she speaks to the Gungans and she's like, well, actually, I'm Queen on the
Queen. And when she drops to her knees and
Yeah.
begs for help, that's a pretty incredible moment. That like humbling of herself as queen. I'm no better than the Gungans. We all live on this planet together. That's a really special moment.
I know Palpatine at this point is kind of pulling the string, but the moment where she speaks to the Senate and Chancellor Valorum is like, well, sweetie, little girl standing there, would you be okay if we table this for a bit so the grown-ups can talk about it? And she's like, absolutely not. I think you should quit your job because you're terrible at it. Like, it's so easy, and I'm sure we all remember this from being 14 years old, that when the grown-ups tell you, no, honey, grown-ups are talking, let us deal with it, how frustrating that felt and how easy it would have been to just be like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing because all of you have 30 plus years on me. But even though Palpatine's whispering in her ear, like, I feel like so much of that came from her and her frustration and her knowledge that her people back home are being put in camps, they're dying. And she's like, no, we're going to deal with this today, and I call for a vote of no confidence. And that was like the most badass moment, especially considering how young she is and just how much was at stake.
That was a great moment. I'm going to follow it up with one that's not as important, but one that I still love, which is when the doors open and Darth Maul's there, and it's like, dun, 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 and she's like, let's go the long way. Let's go this way. That's my favorite kind of
She's not great survival.
I just love how it's just like, you deal with that. Let's go this way, team. And then they use like the Batman Gatling guns to go up the building. That's my favorite kind of moment.
That is so good. That is so good.
And I love that I came after that moment where she's like,
No, but
she's so important. And then I'm like, yo, the Batman guns.
But listen, if she didn't have her Batman guns and her survival instincts, like, we would not be having this conversation.
Go back and watch that clip though. It's so funny. She's like, I'm good.
And they're like, we'll handle this. And she's like, no argument from me. I gotta go. I'm out.
I like that every single one of these moments came from the Phantom Menace.
No, I love the Phantom Menace. And then right after they Batman their way up the stairs, and Keira Knightley comes in and plays decoy one more time, and then she goes over to the throne and hits the button and catches and throws the gun to the captain, and they're like, and those cool Naboo blasters, which make the coolest sounds ever. And that it's a perfect play, perfectly executed.
That's my impression.
It's so good. Amazing.
Okay, non-serious question. Favorite outfit? She has a lot.
The red throne room dress.
Yes.
This one?
Yes, this one on our print.
Oh yeah,
It's
we have
just
some print.
just that shot with the spores swelling in the Phantom Menace, and the camera kind of pulls in on her standing in the window with the light, and just seared itself into my brain when I was 9. So that's it. Nothing has changed, but it's still my favorite look.
Yeah, that one's amazing. I low-key, high-key love the look where they're going on the run and they're disguising themselves as refugees on that ship. And she gets on the subway to go to the ship that's taking them to the refugee camp, and she's wearing this enormous gown of like brown and mustard, like brocade. And on the subway, she's wearing this gold headdress that looks like the sun, which is gorgeous, and I love this big, beautiful gold headdress. And I was like, yeah, they look like refugees for sure. That's gonna work. And to cover up the headdress, she puts a veil on of like pure gold lace, which is
Okay.
She's like, I'm poor. It's so good, but I really love that look. I love that headdress, and that the lace is so beautiful. It is so funny to me that that's her version of a refugee outfit.
That reminds me of her outfit that she wears when she like tries to let Anakin down. Like she looks like drop the corset, yeah.
She's like, stop having sexual emotions about me. I'm in a corset. And he's like, what?
Oh yeah, the black one with the
like that's what you wear to turn someone down. Okay.
I'm a senator.
Oh yeah. I do love pretty much the generic one that everybody loves.
It's
but
not generic.
well, I mean like the one that's in all the marketing materials. It's always that one because everybody loves it. I really like this celebration dress at the end of Phantom Menace with the big white. Someone's wearing it. The big white.
She's over there.
Yay! Stand up! This is my favorite one. Yay! No, that is my favorite one. I love it. I think it's beautiful. All the layers and the pink ruffles she just looks so happy. And nothing makes me more happy than a happy ending in Star Wars because we get so non-happy endings that like it's such a joyous time. Everyone's dancing, Jar Jar's there, and it's great. So that's what I really love it.
I love it. Well, you can't not mention some of the other classic ones. And she's so iconic. There's so many looks that all of the cosplayers in this room. It seems like everybody's got a different look on. But the ones that are the really
The
popular
beautiful field
ones,
one, being one
the
right
field,
there,
the field dress,
which
the
is
gold
one of my
dress.
favorite
There's
memes.
another over there.
My favorite
Which is
memes where it's
incredible.
like, did you do this? And she's like,
And I have seen like 7 or 8 lake dresses around
Oh, lake
today.
dresses, yeah.
You've got to mention if you're going to talk about Padme, you've got to mention the lake dress.
so much bass.
So much back, and it's so beautiful. And the color gradient on that is unreal.
And Natalie Portman can literally wear a dress right.
She could.
She could.
Like everything she puts on, you're like, yes, that works wonderful.
So we have some time for questions, if anybody has any. The mic's right over there.
Come on up.
Line up.
We don't bite. We're very nice.
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
Unless you're Anakin, apparently.
I'm sorry. Being Anakin today.
I like Anakin.
Hi.
Hi.
So,
What's your name?
My name is Charlotte.
Hi,
Charlotte. Charlotte?
Yes.
Charlotte, where are you from?
Oxfordshire.
Nice. Welcome.
So the question is, if we were recasting prequels or filming them today, who
Be
would
careful,
you...
Disney might hear you.
Yeah.
They're like, what? You want on at 7? Oh my god.
Who would you cast as Padme and Naboo?
Oh.
That's so hard.
I almost said Millie Bobby Brown.
That's
but
what I
the
just
Leia
thought of.
cast.
That's what I
But if
But
we
she
can't
would
have her
wear
as
it.
young Leia, then Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
That's a good one. It's interesting. That's an interesting question because so much of casting is like Natalie Portman was such a good choice because she was established. You know, she can carry a film on her own because she's established herself in the professional. And but she was really, really young, right? I don't think I can name a lot of 14-year-old actresses just off the top of my head right now.
I was thinking she was a bit older, Bella Ramsey.
Oh yeah, that's a great option.
Yeah.
You know she could carry a whole film on her shoulders. She's incredible. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many.
It's so true though. It's like you're sitting here and you're going, okay, what 14-year-olds do I know? I really don't. I know Millie Bobby Brown, but even she's like 19
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I'm in my 30s.
But that's a great
I don't know
question.
anyone 14.
Who's on Disney Channel right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody that's so famous that they're gonna distract from, and that's something Star Wars has done a really good job of is casting relative unknowns in their films, and so you don't want somebody so famous that it becomes a cameo appearance, right?
My dumb brain was like, Vivian Blair, and I was like, oh wait, no. She was so great as Leia.
She was supposed to play like Padme and Leia.
It's the same.
She
because,
just
you know,
keep
Yeah.
playing both
The multiverse.
forever.
Thanks for your question.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Thomas, and one of my favorite movie is The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And one of the most beautiful things about Padme, I think, is her friendship with Jaja, because it's the queen of the Naboo and their style of the Gungans. What do you think about their influence on the rest of the story or on each other?
I love that because that is so true. I think a lot of people, including like Qui-Gon Jinn, looks at Jar Jar and Obi-Wan like, you're an idiot, like the town fool. And she never does that. She always treats him with respect. She always treats everybody with respect. And I think that's a good, a wonderful example of why we love Padme so much. Is that no matter who you are, where you come from, what kind of creature you are, alien, whatever, droid, she's going to treat you with respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it speaks volumes about a person who will treat somebody that if she had been dismissive of Jar Jar, I think most of the galaxy wouldn't have batted an eye. But the fact that she doesn't do that, and she like, the bar is clearly the floor, but the fact that she exceeds it by so much, I think speaks volumes about who she is as a person.
Yeah, I think it's a real legit move too that they created the position of the Gungan representative, because of their interactions throughout the Phantom Menace. And I don't know if it was Padme's idea or Palpatine's idea, whoever's idea it was, that to say, no, the Gungans represent like a huge portion of the population of the planet of Naboo. They deserve their own representative. And then they called Jar Jar up. I think that is a real bro move. I think that's and it echoes throughout, and you feel that influence throughout the rest of the story. You don't get the military powers given to Chancellor Palpatine without Jar Jar presenting it. And I don't blame him for that. He didn't know. Nobody, he's being actively manipulated.
Yeah, and I also think she rubs off on him, because this is my headcanon, I don't know if anybody else agrees with me. With the Mandalorian and that ship showing up, my first thought was that's Jar Jar's ship. He's saving people.
Yeah.
And I think that he takes stances like that because Padme would have done that. That's my thought. I know it's probably not true. But I like to think that Ahmed Best is handing off this baby to Jar Jar. Like, to me, that's just like the most obvious himself. Yeah.
I mean,
but yeah,
that makes sense. Why else would Grogu like frogs?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful cosplay.
Hello, my name is Remy, and I was just wondering, you all mentioned how mesmerised you were with Padme when you first saw her in The Phantom Menace, and what an incredible character she is, and especially at such a young age. I was just wondering, how did you guys react when it clicked in your mind that she was going to be the mother of Luke and Leia?
That's a great question.
That's a really good question.
I actually knew from the start because George wasn't like hiding it. He was like, yeah, that's Luke and Leia's mother. And my dad would like reading the articles to me because he's a giant nerd too. And yeah, so like I was like, yeah, cool. I can see it.
I don't think there was a time I didn't know, like I went into the movie with that knowledge. And this wasn't spoiled for me by my carpool buddy. This was just something I guess I knew. But I think it made me a little more invested in like how she gets to that point, even at a young age. I'm like, okay, I knew Anakin was going to be Darth Vader because I don't know if any of you remember that poster where his silhouette is Darth Vader. So I knew going in that this is where we're going. So it was like, but how do we get there? Like knowing the destination.
Yeah. You guys were talking earlier, you were like, I was so fooled by she was, I don't know why, I always knew it. I feel like I'm very good with faces. I think it's a weird thing to say, but I'm very good with faces, so I figured out that like that wasn't a surprise to me. The baby thing was a surprise for me when I was little. I was like, wait, Luke's not in this, but he is kind of in it. Like that to me. And I love it. You know, I know that's the point of the story, like you were saying, like it's all leading to this place, like all those Andor series are leading to Rogue One. So it's just, you know what the end result is, but the idea that all of this is interconnected and all these choices that all these people are making and then playing out later, it's just so important. And I think it shows the values that you see in her children with Luke and Leia and the choices that they end up making, even at the time that they don't know who they are, is ingrained in them from Padme. Your cosplay's awesome.
Thank you. Alright, we're gonna do Steve. Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, so I'm V, and I'm glad you already touched it about the Mandalorian. I didn't want to get on to spoil it if anyone not watched it. But
Oh, shoot, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
how do you, with the whole handing over, and like, you've already mentioned you think it was Jar Jar who was the one to send out.
Anybody else think that? That is Jar Jar? Did I spoil anybody? One guy in the back, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, but you're at a Star Wars convention.
Okay, I'm still going to stand by that. I'm really sorry.
Candace has actively spoiled so many things.
That's not my fault.
Okay, before we spiral, what's your question?
So, how do you feel then about, you've already mentioned again Padme's influence on Jar Jar. How do you feel about that might have been Padme? So instead of her
That is
just
another thing I
wanting,
heard. Yes, that is another
do you
theory
think
that I
that
heard.
Padme sent him out? And also, do you think this means now Grogu is going to Naboo and might grow up in like Padme's palace, and do you think he'll like link through all the Naboo and all that?
Those are great thoughts. I've heard both those theories. That it's Padme who sees the fire and then sends her ship to help people, and then he goes to Naboo, and then he lives with the Gungans. I've heard both. I think I honestly would be happy with either. Once again, I'm really sorry I spoiled that. He would be happy with either choice. I would be happy with either choice because I think they're just such great characters that deserve so much more respect than they got when they first were in the universe. I think that speaks more to what we already know of Padme, that she's saving people even when she's not there, that her influence is so far-reaching that her one thought is immediately like, what can I do to help? That's who she is. So I love that theory also. I just like Ahmed with Ahmed. That's just me.
Yeah. Thank you. We're gonna try to get us in.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Joe.
Hi, Joe.
I was going to ask, it's a little bit related to that at the kind of centre of a lot of modern stories, there is a Padme-shaped hole. You know, not many references to her, and there have not been any direct references to her name. You know, ObiWan touched on it a little. What do you think can be done, obviously, if it was to tie into the Mandalorian, but what can be done to improve this going forward?
I think the best opening for that is for the people who knew her and loved her to just act like she existed at all. Like, I get why Obi-Wan didn't say it to Leia. If he puts that name in her head, like, you know, if something happens, she's got that information, and that's not what he wants. But, you know, like, Andor Season 2 with Mon, with hopefully Bail, I don't know, would be a great opportunity for that to come up organically, because this is the movement she helped kick off that is now continuing. So I think in that respect, just
As like a who's come before us, remember these people.
Yeah, like, this is what Padme would have wanted or something. But yeah. I think that's a good way to do it.
Even just a casual name drop would be really great. Just Andor Season 2 seems like it would be a perfect place to put it. We're gonna continue this, or we should try to pass that bill that Senator Amidala posed before she died. Like just something quick, something easy, just to fill that hole that she's left. The fact that nobody has said her name at all is wild to me.
Okay, technically Tales of the Jedi, I think.
Thanks, Joe.
I like your shirt, Untitled Star Wars Movie. It's really relevant.
Yeah.
We got 3 of them today.
I know, right? Untitled, popular shirt.
Hi, my name is Mickey.
Hello.
And I was wondering if Padme survived Revenge of the Sith. Do you guys think that she would try and do more of a low-key help the rebellion situation like Mon Mothma does in Andor, or do you think she would leave and try and fight on the front lines?
That's a really good question. I think it would depend on how she and her advising team assessed her safety levels after, you know,
Obsessed masked boyfriend is rolling
obsessed
around.
masked boyfriend.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, and they don't know that it's him. But if they were like, okay, like there was a threat on your life, and now you have kids, you've got force sensitive kids running around. Like, how secure do you want to be? I don't think she would settle for being locked up and like working behind the scenes.
Because she was ready to run away in Revenge of the Sith, and she's like, let's go, let's get out of here. You don't have to do this, we can go be together. So I think she would totally be like, let's get out of here for the safety of her children.
Okay, yeah.
I think she would be doing things behind the scenes.
Yeah,
She might like take her dad,
like mom,
even, but like more like a Ahsoka, like a fulcrum style thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Great question.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, 4 minutes.
Something to think about.
Oh, it's red now.
Beautiful,
Oh, no,
beautiful.
awesome.
So pretty.
Hi, my name's Esther Chaos. Considering you're talking about favorite dresses, I have a weird one for you.
Okay.
If you were to make your own Padme dress, Amidala dress, what would it look like? Just vague idea of what it would look like.
Oh man, I am really, really into the canon as established in the what is it, Queen's Hope, those books, where the dresses are not just beautiful but extremely functional, and that she's got it's a skirt and it has no bend or move to it. That's because she can duck into it and turn it into and I would have something like that. I would like mobile fortress. It's like this dress looks like it's just like a big plastic dome, but oh no, I'm scared. I can just hide in it. Maybe turtle all the way down into the skirt, and it would be blaster proof. That's the kind of thing that I would make sure is in my Padme outfit.
On a far less serious note, every single one of my dresses would have pockets.
So many pockets.
I have no fashion sense, so I'm like a terrible person to ask this question to. I respect everybody else's opinion. All I picture is like, for me, if you go on like the runways the past few years, they've had like those really ridiculously big sweatshirt coats. I feel like that's what my dress would be because it's like super comfy but like ridiculous at the same time that I'm like hidden in it. But everyone in this room is like, what are you talking about? I don't even know. So
I love it.
Thank you.
We can do it.
All right.
you look so
questions.
good.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I was wondering, do you have any particular take on Padme's reaction to the Tusken Massacre? Because it's something that seems quite different from righteous she usually is.
Wow, that's a really good question.
Sorry,
No,
it's okay.
I think in defense of the way she reacted, I think it's something that is so difficult to comprehend when you're removed from it, that like it's horrifying in theory, but it's horrifying full stop, let me be clear. But like it's horrifying for her to contemplate, but all she sees in front of her is like the element she knows. Like the Anakin of it all.
Yeah.
So I think she's reacting in like in the best way available to her.
Yeah.
Because what else do you do
Right.
in that
crying,
situation?
grieving Anakin.
That
That
she's
she's
throwing
trying-
things at the wall and
trying
she's like,
not to be
oh
in
my
love with.
god.
Like, I'm trying not to be in love with this guy, and he's in front of me, like, with his heart broken all the way open and admitting to terrible war crimes. And I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna hug him. Well, it's understandable.
Yeah, no, I know. Those are both you guys have really good points. I think it's one of those things that we all have weaknesses and weak spots, and while we've been sitting up here talking about how strong Padme is, her weak spot was Anakin. On a regular basis, she forgave things that he did, overlooked things, and I think that's a prime example, which is a great question, of she was willing to overlook things for the person that she loved. And we see that a lot in Star Wars and just in human nature. We tend to forgive our people that we care about, even when they're doing bad things. And that's a really bad thing to do.
Yeah.
But she's just in the moment of, I think as a person, she goes into action of what can I do, and the only thing she can do at that moment is comfort him. She can't bring those people back. But I think it's also a blind spot to her.
Yeah.
Great question.
Good question.
We got 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Let's see if we can do this quickly.
Hi, I'm Nick. My question would be, you've talked about Padme's influence on basically every female character in Star Wars, but is that necessarily always a good thing? Obviously she's wonderful, but is there not more nuance we can give to female characters?
100%.
Yeah, definitely. They all have
Nuance, diversity, absolutely. The fact that we can see Padme and all of these characters, and Rey and Jin and everybody, means that we've got a lot of tiny British brunettes in Star Wars, and we can always hope to have different kinds of female stories told. Yeah.
Okay, we're all done with splashing our
We're
feet.
so sorry.
But if you'd like, we've
got
got an
Prince-
official print.
It's a beautiful Padme in the red dress.
Also, please don't leave. I really want to take a picture. Please don't leave before you walk out the door. Please turn around, don't leave yet. Just take this picture. This is gonna go great.
Oh, goodness.
Everybody smile. Say Padme.
Oh, it's fabulous. Thank you all so much.